Sox in the basement.
I'm the Sox nerd with my weekly Sox Stumper. Who was the only White Sox player to win a Gold Glove in the 1980s? I'll have the answer at the end of my spiel later in the podcast.
Wow. I mean, what a series against the Angels. If you're not excited as a White Sox fan, I don't know why you call yourself a White Sox fan right now. I know they're under 500. I know that it's early in the season. But this is exactly what we talked about 4 series ago. Remember this, Ed? I said, let's beat the A's and the Nationals and the Diamondbacks and the Angels. Let's make our hay against these teams. Well, guess what? They went 8-4 over those 4 series, finishing off with the sweep against the Angels, which was just a great series. They're showing they can come back in games. That's amazing. If you take away the 1-6 start, and we've talked about that on this show so many times. If you listen to Sox in the Basement, if you watch us on YouTube, we're on all the different podcast players. You can go to soxinthebasement.com. If you're not subscribed, do so. That way you don't miss a show. But if you've been listening to us over the last month, I keep saying 1-6 start. It sucked. That was the sweep where the Brewers swept them, and then they lose 2 out of 3 to the Marlins of all teams. That was terrible. They get a rain out. And then all of a sudden, from that point forward, different team. 13-12 different since that time. They are not a finished product. In June, they're going to run into a buzzsaw. Several series there. The Yankees, the Dodgers. I mean, like, the Phillies are going to be good at some point as they figure this out. They're going to run into all those teams. But for the month of May, I mean, I want another 500 month. I would love a game over 500. But I think this team enters June. I think this team goes through the first 2 months of the season, and they're sitting in the middle of the pack in the Central. And they are showing you excitement. And you are seeing young guys either showing up on this team. Kyle Teal is coming back. Brady Montgomery is getting here at some point. And when they replace Anthony Kay in the rotation, and they decide it's Shane Smith has figured it out or Hagen Smith is ready, they will continue to improve as a team and do more and more. I just want to see them continue. I know against the Padres, they may only win one of those 3 games, but get one of them and then beat up on the Angels again out in Los Angeles. I'm excited right now, Ed.
Yeah, and you know what they showed, we talked about them having kind of a lack of identity in terms of offense. And what they showed me against the Angels is that they are a much better team when they're all focused on just hitting the ball hard, getting on base, taking the extra base, you know, whether through a steal or just good base running. Sometimes there's questionable base running. Austin Hayes getting picked off by the right fielder. But when they do that and home runs become the gravy on top of those mashed potatoes, they are a very exciting team that can hang in games and come back and win. When they sit back and they just wait for Murakami to hit home runs or Colson to hit home runs, and they get complacent that way, they're going to have a hard time beating teams. But if you're a team that can do that can focus on scrapping across a couple of runs, even when you're running into that buzzsaw in June, you know, you might sneak up on the Dodgers. You might sneak up on a Phillies team that's having some pitching problems and, you know, and maybe is going to figure it out, but maybe doesn't have the juice this year. And the Sox pitching staff has been very, very solid when they're being used in the right setting. Now, I
even
cringed.
Sir Anthony Dominguez was able to pitch a clean inning in the 10th inning.
I was amazed, but I cringed when he came out.
I know, I cringed too. Look, I want the guy to succeed. I think when I criticize a player or call him what he is, sometimes you have fans that'll sit there and say, oh, he just hates everybody, or he's just being mean to the guy. We're going to do some listener mail later. There's one guy that every time I bring him up, like, man, he's got fans out there that hate it when I say something about him. But in the end, I want them all to succeed. I as a fan of this team, I want them to succeed. But it was undeniable that Sir Anthony Dominguez has been an issue. And all the pitching at the end of games has been an issue. It's against the Angels. Let's see how it is against better competition with him. Late in games, I cringed when he came out in the 10th inning. I was happy when he was able to come through. Maybe he figures it out. Maybe he bucks the trends that I can see when I look at the back of his baseball card in the first month that he's been with the team. I just want the team to identify guys as for what they are, not what they're paid to be, not what your hope is for them, not what their pedigree is as a prospect. Who is actually performing? Who is improving? Who are you building upon? And who can you rely on in big moments? This episode of Sox in the Basement brought to you by Hyatt Home Medical Equipment. Every Mother's Day, we look for ways to say thank you for a lifetime of care from your mother. This year, Hyatt is helping Chicago families go beyond the traditional gift. They put together a guide on how to give your mom something truly life-changing: independence. When grandma and grandpa, mom and dad are getting older and going to a new age of life, help them make the switch with Hyatt. Stair lifts, ramps, grab bars, lift chairs, and even bathroom remodeling, working with your insurance and having 0% financing for qualified individuals. You can take a look at that guide. You can see everything they do. Hyatt Home Medical Equipment at hhme.com. If you're on the YouTube channel, we keep talking about my outfits. No sock stuff today, but I'm wearing the sponsor shirt, and I have an outfit change later on in the show, Ed. Outfit change.
Oh,
yeah.
See,
there's big demand on what I'm wearing online.
I'm just sticking with the White Sox polo today. I'm not going to do a costume change.
Good. You shouldn't have to. I'm just at this point. I'm just kind of bowing to whatever people want me to do right now. I just want to make everybody happy. Listener mail coming up here in just a moment.
Except for the listener mail and comments, which
most of them are good.
You can't make
most of
everybody.
them are good, but I do like the ones when people hate me. I had AI, which I hate. I hate AI. I just want to say that. I felt dirty doing this because I feel like using AI means that they're just going to keep building more data centers and just using up all the water and driving the cost of water up and driving your electrical cost up. And people are using it for the dumbest things. Like if AI is helping me build a rocket ship so we can go to Mars, great. If AI is solving world hunger, I'm all about the AI. If AI is trying to determine what you would look like with mouse ears, this is a waste of resources and why the human beings lost before the first Matrix movie and got put inside of the Matrix. So I don't like using it. But I did ask AI, what does forearm tightness mean for a pitcher? After Tanner McDougal was removed in his AAA game. And unfortunately, AI did not give me good news. Forearm tightness in a pitcher is a major red flag indicating potential UCL injury, commonly known as a precursor to Tommy John. Not a good day, not a good week, not a good month to be a Tanner in the White Sox organization, my friend.
No, that makes McDougal and Murray both potentially with season-ending injuries. We'll find out about McDougal, but
he's the best pitcher they have in AAA right now.
Yeah.
Like that's the guy I wanted to replace Anthony Kay with. And now he's got forearm tightness because Hagen Smith, they're not using him for a lot of innings, but they weren't doing it with Schultz, so maybe he's next. I was really positive about Shane Smith's first two starts down there. His third one was shaky. So he's still working stuff out. But both of them have to be better than what I'm getting from Anthony Kay right now. Like that last Anthony Kay start, the team bails out Anthony Kay, which is great. I mean, they're showing me something. They're not afraid when they're down. They think they can come back. They're going to fight till the end. That is not something I saw the last couple of years. That's starting to happen in there. A little bit of an identity maybe forming with this team, Ed?
Yeah. I mean, scrappy and willing to claw and scratch and fight at all times and play, all 27 outs. That's an identity. That's a really good identity to have as a team, especially if it pervades all aspects of it. If everyone's really, no one gets complacent on defense, they're all still going after it. I mean, Tanner Murray did not need to dive for that ball necessarily, that he ends up with a season-ending injury, but it helps that he did. He got an out of it, a run still scored, but going all out like that and laying it out is absolutely what you want to see. You want to see hustle from this team. You want to see guys that are really trying to establish themselves not only as major leaguers in some situations, but also as guys that this team wants to keep around. I mean, Drew Romo comes up and immediately ingratiates himself to the fans by becoming the first White Sox catcher in history to hit a home run from both sides of the plate in a game. But also, what that tells me is that he's up there trying to hit the ball hard, and he's trying to call a good game, and he's trying to, win what is essentially going to be the backup job to Kyle Teal, because Edgar Caro looks lost. Edgar Caro does not look like a guy that has any idea what he wants to do at the plate anymore. He kind of looks lost behind the plate a little bit. He's not as sharp throwing guys out this year. So what I'm watching Sam Antonacci, who's not necessarily going 3 for 3 every game, but when the game is on the line, he's focused, he's locked in, and he triples in a tying run. I'm watching, when Everson Pereira was, before he got hurt again, I'm watching him try and prove that he should be an everyday outfielder on this team, and that he's an everyday major league player. And he was doing, a pretty fine job of it. I just wish he would stay off the IL.
At least, you know what? It's a 10-day IL. He'll be back. At least he's not Luis Robert Jr. At least, and what has he got? Herniated disc. He's on the IL. He's going to play like 50 games for the Mets this year. All right. That was no loss whatsoever getting rid of him. Not only is that no loss getting rid of him, but you should never feel beholden to, we need to keep giving Luis Angel Acuna as much playing time as possible because we don't want to look stupid for trading away Luis Robert Jr. You do not look stupid trading away Luis Robert Jr. His statistics, his line, average on-base percentage slugging, is basically the exact same as it was for his last 2 years with the White Sox, and he's hurt again. So
and he still makes $20 million a year.
Right. You could have traded him for a bag of balls and you would have actually won the trade. That's where you're at right now with that one. The White Sox shouldn't feel that way. I hate to interrupt you, but I want to get to my outfit change for the YouTube people.
I was talking long enough for you to get to the outfit change.
you were stretching so I could make my change. Here we go. I got this fancy one from Window and Door Superstore of Oak Forest. I got a bunch of them. He gave me a bunch of shirts for you. I got to give them to you. Okay. For exterior windows, doors, patio doors, and storm doors, look no further than Window and Door Superstore of Oak Forest. No high pressure sales, not in your kitchen. You are in their showroom. Full examples, glass designs on display. Forget pictures in a book. See it in person. And I've been to that showroom. I was at that showroom this past weekend when I got these shirts and visited with the folks over there. And I'm telling you, the windows, the door, everything in there sells itself because you walk in and you can just see it. You can see the etchings. You can see all the different options you can do. There's an owner on showroom. There's an owner in showroom. There's one on the site the day of the install. They're using their own installers. They don't farm out the work. Window and Door Superstore in Oak Forest since 1985 with all major brands custom made. No stock items for a perfect fit. They're a half block east of 159th and Ridgeland at 6280 159th Street. See more at windowdooroakforest.com. Let's get to our first listener mail. I want to get into these. Here we go. This one's from Griff Perry. I always say, if you put your full name in the contact form, I'm reading it. Hey, guys. First off, love the podcast and the topics you discuss. Hope and pray for Ed's continued improvement as well. Ed had all the tubes pulled out of him today. He is no longer a bionic man. It's just you and the clothes you're wearing now, right?
Yeah, a few bandages here and there, some tape still. I'm still held together by some extraneous items, but yeah, there's no tubes sticking into any major veins or arteries, which is a nice thing to have for the first time in a couple months. It's progress.
Griff goes on to say, I've seen some discourse. I've seen it too. Right now, social media is crazy about the White Sox and what players the team should be shipping off this year. And it started giving me ideas that I'd like to hear your opinions on. Before we get into this, first off, the moving Murakami thing is stupid. And if you were paying attention, if you saw any of that buzz or heard it on Chicago radio, it got started by somebody from John Boy in New York who's a Yankee fan who wants Murakami on his team.
Right.
And he goes, when are they going to put him up? They'll probably trade him at the deadline. And then it got picked up by it got picked up by Chicago media as something to talk about that day. Terrible show prep, by the way, by all those shows that latched on to a Yankee fan making that suggestion because he wants Murakami on his team. Listen, I don't think they're moving him. I don't think they need to move him. I think if they moved Murakami, that's it. That's another thing. Not drafting Chalowski, moving Murakami. Those are fan base killers. I don't care what new food items you have next year and whatever slogan you come up with. That place will be a ghost town for 10 years if you do that. Remember the white flag trade in 97? It'll be worse after what White Sox fans have gone through in the last 10 years. So I don't even want to talk about that as a possibility because it would be so stupid to do that. that I can't even fathom them considering it. And anybody who considers it should be hit in the head with a mallet and thrown out the door. Here we go. These are some crazy ideas. They're not as crazy. He goes, these ideas are not as crazy as wanting to trade Mooney. But he's talking about the idea of moving the 1-year deal guys like Fetty, Hayes, Newcomb. And he goes on to kind of go through some of these different guys here. Here's my thing. And it's a great email, and I wish I could read the whole thing, but it's a lot in here. But he starts naming off guys. And he's excited about the idea that Teal's going to be showing up, and eventually you're going to get Rock Chalowski. He believes that that's going to happen. Griff kind of goes into details here in this listener mail. But when I got to that point in it, I said, well, why do we need to trade him? Like, why do we need to trade him? If we're going to have a positive season this year, let's have a positive season. Like, if we get to a point where we've got another guy coming up from AAA, like, let's say Hagen Smith and Shane Smith are both ready to get up here. And now you need to not only move Anthony Kay off the team, but you can now trade Fetty. Okay, I understand that, right? But I'm not in a hurry to move him. I'm not in a hurry to move anybody until they've been pushed out of the way by another player. I don't want to do this fire sale stuff anymore. There's got to be a point where you go, we're trying to win baseball games. And when we get to this trade deadline, trust me, the decision shouldn't be made until you've gone through June. If you go through June, which is a buzzsaw, and you're 10 games under 500, when you get to the All-Star break, start trading guys. I'm fine with it. But if they hold their own, if I'm looking at the wild card race and they're 4 games out, I want to see competition, because I don't think you're getting anything that great moving these guys. We've seen this level guy, Fetty being traded, Newcomb if he gets traded. You don't get that much back in those kind of deals. I'd rather see wins. I'd rather build the culture of the team. I'd rather these guys have positivity in their locker room instead of stripping guys out and telling them halfway through the year that the season's over. If a guy gets moved out of the way by talent that comes up, great. You got to move Austin Hayes because Brandon Montgomery got here. Makes sense. It'll make sense to the players, but only if that's the reason, Ed.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the outfield, and if the outfield is claimed by Montgomery, Antonacci, Pereira, and the fourth outfielder is Peters, who Will Venable seems to love, and Derek Hill is contributing, and Austin Hayes doesn't have as much of a role on the team. Hayes may want to go to somewhere where he's going to play every day because he's got to play for a contract. And, but in the meantime, if you don't have that, if you don't have guys claiming jobs, if there's still questions or if there's still a rotation going there where Hayes is getting enough at bats to warrant paying him, it sounds like he's a really good teammate. I don't know that I would necessarily want to upset the chemistry. Eric Fetty's not going to be worth much. He's a 4th starter. He's a 5th starter on most good teams. He's an innings eater guy. He's not going to get back a prospect that's going to come up and change anything or that's going to move the needle towards you winning anytime soon. And when you come to, Newcomb, it's a bullpen arm. I don't know. Bullpen arms don't tend to bring back a whole heck of a lot. If they were going to make a big trade at the deadline, I hate to say it, but it would have to be something along the lines of a blockbuster massive splash, like moving Mooney.
And I don't want that. I'm sorry.
And I don't want that either.
It's time to start winning. It's time to continue to take the next step. You pull
this guy off division.
You pull this guy off the team. They don't have very much on the books at all. I think they have like $0 on the books, like in terms of like actual contractual money. They're carrying nobody. It's just arbitration and pre-arb guys. Like that's all you've got on this team. All right. So you have plenty of money to go out and sign a guy like Murakami, who's getting international attention, who's appearing in national articles, who's making your team relevant again. I'm totally with Chris Getz what he said last week when he was in the booth about, hey, it's early. Give me some time. Let's see how he does. But there should be no rush to move him. And you have plenty of time if you want to re-sign him. Heck, you're probably getting a work stoppage in 27. And so you may want to wait till after the CBA has been decided before you decide what his next contract's going to be. That may be beneficial to you. You have to just see which way the wind is blowing and see how he does as this year progresses. A couple of comments on the last show on the YouTube page. Pretty much the same things. I'll read this one here. I changed my profile picture to Rock Chalowski. If the Sox fail to draft him for any reason, I will no longer support this team. Rock has the potential to be the biggest superstar in the city. You don't not draft him for any reason, excuse. You can't miss on him. And you extend Murakami now. Another person wrote, agreed about Chalowski, but I feel the exact same about not giving Murakami a long-term contract by the end of the season if he continues to produce. You may mention that on the second half of the episode, but I'm halfway through and I've got to mention it right now. These are YouTube comments that were being made in real time. People feel the same way. You draft Rock Chalowski, you don't give up on Murakami or move him or anything like that, or that's going to be the reaction of the lion's share of White Sox fans. And strangely, over the last couple of days, the voice of reason on Chicago radio was Bruce Levine, who said what we've been saying. You draft him, and then you pay him whatever his agent wants, because you got plenty of money, and the White Sox spend on the draft. And it doesn't matter if he wants to be a Giant or not. And I haven't talked to anybody that says that. And basically, he kind of poo-pooed Bob Nightingale. And I was like, look at Bruce Levine out of left field, coming to our rescue on that one on Chicago Sports Radio, which is like a minefield of some are informed and some barely watch the team, but they all feel like they have to talk about it because they're starting to win now. Leatherface also wrote, love that name, Leatherface. No, that was the last guy. Sorry. Fisher's guy also wrote about the last show that bartender I mentioned from the Lyric on Navy Pier should be fired.
Well,
he writes, I travel for my job multiple weeks per month. I need to provide itemized receipts for anything I'm requesting reimbursements on for my expense report. No itemization, adding a tip to a party of one, hiding it, diabolical. I agree, man. That's why I won't go back to that place.
Yeah, that is diabolical.
It's diabolical what that guy was doing. That was crazy.
You know where he'd fit in?
Where?
The White Sox front office.
All right, let's read something that somebody hates me. 2 episodes ago, I talked about several different people, and one of the things I talked about was that I didn't think Miguel Vargas was a middle-of-the-order hitter. And I think Miguel Vargas is really streaky. And I need Miguel Vargas to show more consistency here in his second full season with this team. I don't think that's unreasonable, right?
No.
But there are a lot of... I said it when I talked about him. I was like, people will be angry. This is one of the guys that people immediately come to his defense. It's weird. You would have think he'd been with the team for like 10 years, and I was picking on like Frank Thomas or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Here, Eric says, Miguel Vargas is a good hitter, so stop putting him down, okay? You suck and your show sucks.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. United Trenches says, Vargas plays well, and you guys still crap on him with a poop emoji. And a credible source tells the truth. All baseball players are streaky. That's how the numbers are calculated. Look, I understand that you calculate over 162 games, but last year we watched him have like a huge May and then disappear for a month. That's not normal. Like, I understand guys have bad weeks, but that's not normal. And that's not what you don't want that from a guy you're plugging in middle of the order. We talked about it after the show. We didn't talk about it on the show.
Well, yeah. I mean,
who's he most comparable to for White Sox fans? His stats right now.
See, now, my take on it was Miguel Vargas on a good team is Juan Uribe.
Yes! I was like, man, how do we miss putting him in that episode? But it's true. I mean, Miguel Vargas for his career is hitting 205 with a 666 OPS. That's what he's doing.
He's got better stretches in there than that would suggest.
Yeah,
by far.
Juan Uribe hit 255 for his career with a 719 OPS. During the time that Juan Uribe was with the White Sox, we'll just look at the time that you remember Juan Uribe, who's part of a statue and helped us win a World Series. So he's clearly a Major League Baseball player, and I'm not saying that Miguel Vargas isn't, but he didn't bat in the middle of the order. He had 251 with a 293 on base percentage and a 724 OPS. And when I go back and I look at what Miguel Vargas has been doing for his career, those are better numbers than Vargas's career numbers. Last year, Miguel Vargas was 234 with a 316 on base percentage and a 717 OPS. Now, right now, currently, because he's had this really great stretch over the first 30 games, he's hitting 215 with an 805 OPS. If he can bring that to 240 and hit 805, then I'll listen to your argument about why he should be in the middle of the order on this team currently, and maybe when the team is really good, he sits like 6th. But I just want to point out, like, you want to eventually win a championship, right? Like, I know that expectations have been lowered over the last couple of years because this team has been not good and the owner spends no money on it. And you've been beaten down as a fan base. So you're just excited about anybody that plays really well on the team. And I'm not saying, again, that he shouldn't be a player. He plays pretty good defense, but he's streaky. And my problem is, I think that on a really good team that's actually competing for titles, he's not a guy that hits in the middle of the order. I don't think that's a crazy thing. I pulled up the Dodgers lineup over the last few weeks, right? And just for an example, I'll look at the most recent lineup that they had. Their 5-hitter is Max Muncy right now on the Dodgers. Their 5-hitter. Okay? Max Muncy is currently hitting .287 with a .968 OPS. All right? That's a team that's competing for a championship. Somebody's going to be like, oh, the Dodgers. Well, you got to beat them if you want to win a championship. So I'm just using this for comparison's sake. We got to use apples and apples here because this is the team that you'll run into. Dalton Rushing right now is batting 6th. He's hitting .348. He's got the same wins above replacement as Vargas. Sure, he's only played 15 games, though, so he's actually twice as valuable as Miguel Vargas. All right? The next guy in their lineup is Hyesung Kim. I think I said his name right. I always screw up some of these names. Hitting .296 with a .760 OPS. If you look at last year's Vargas and the little sample size we have for this year, maybe he sits in this spot 7th. In the 8th spot right now is Alex Call for the Dodgers. He's batting 8th. He's hitting .310 with an .839 OPS. It's far better than what Miguel Vargas is doing. The number 9 hitter on a team that's actually a championship contender is Alex Freeland, who's hitting .234 with a .619 OPS. I would contend Miguel Vargas on the Dodgers, without considering positions that he have to play, if there was an open position that he could play, would be their 9 hitter. And on teams that are maybe lesser than the Dodgers, he's a 7 or an 8. And until he shows real consistency over 162. He finishes this season with an OPS over 800, and he hits .240. I'll up where I would think that he should be in the lineup.
Let's go back to 2005 and think about the bottom of the order, okay? And who did you tend to see down there? You saw Aaron Rowand. Aaron Rowand ended up signing a massive contract to go be a much bigger deal on other teams.
Good ball player, not worth the middle of the order.
Not on that team.
Right. But that's a team, though, that won a championship.
Yeah, Aaron Rowand was probably the 7th hitter for most days. And you cannot tell me that he was better than A.J. Pierzynski, Jermaine Dye, Paul Konerko, Frank Thomas when he was healthy, Carl Everett, maybe. Maybe you can compare him to Carl Everett a little bit, but Everett, a little bit more power that year. Certainly not better than Iguchi, not a leadoff hitter like Scott Podsednik was. And then you had Juan Uribe at the bottom, and God, I loved Juan Uribe because when he would contribute, when he would hit the ball out of the ballpark, when he would get that key double, when he would get on base in a key situation or lay down a bunt or do something constructive, it was a beautiful thing and it helped them win. And the 8th spot, you might get Chris Widger when he was starting. You might get, I can't even think of who was normally down there, but it wasn't, when you have a stacked lineup, a guy like Miguel Vargas either has to become consistent and streaky like, say, Paul Konerko used to be streaky, where Paulie would he'd go a week and he would, he'd fly out lazily to the, and he'd hit a lot of ground balls. He'd ground into double plays and he'd look a little like, well, yeah, Jesus, what's going on with him? And then he'd take over games. And we've seen that from Vargas. But if you want a more direct correlation about the streakiness, we complained for a long time about Andrew Vaughn's up and down nature and how streaky he was. He did not have Miguel Vargas's good defense at a premium position. I like Miguel Vargas as the third baseman.
Not better than Andrew Vaughn for sure.
I've been very happy with Miguel Vargas's defense. What I would like Miguel Vargas to become is Joe Crede, who, by the way, Joe Crede's career stats, not overly impressive, but Joe Crede came through in big moments, right? And played incredible defense.
Joe Crede didn't hit in the middle of the order.
No, Joe Crede was probably hitting 7th with Rowan hitting 8th.
He was down in the order. Joe Crede was a 7 hitter. And so the thing is, I'm not saying Miguel Vargas. Look, here's the thing. If Miguel Vargas never gets better than what he was last year, he's a replacement level player. And if you come along with something better, let's say Rock Chalowski shows up, you would move him off the team to keep Colson Montgomery at third. I think that's what you would end up doing.
Or Rock playing third and Colson staying
he would be in trouble because you would have a higher level of talent. He would go to another baseball team. He would have a very nice career probably. But I mean, what you want to up the level. Like one of the other comments in there that I didn't read, but I'll read it real quick. Don't shortchange Miguel Vargas. His OPS is 761 with an average below 200. If he gets to 230, which isn't unrealistic, he can have an OPS of plus 800, and that feels like a 4 or 5 hitter. On a bad team, yes.
Yeah.
But eventually, that's not good enough to be a 4 or 5 hitter on competitive teams, especially when you've got a Murakami who's a 3 true outcome player and is probably going to do the same thing, but he's going to hit 20 more home runs or 25 more home runs than Vargas. You can't have an order that on any given night, the 2 to 3, the 4, and the 5 guy could all go 0 for 4. You don't win anything long term that way. So you can only have so many of those guys. So that's all I'm saying. He's perfectly fine and capable as somebody who would be in the lower part of the order. That should be the goal. It's either him becoming a much different hitter than what he currently is, and these streaks that we're seeing becoming more consistent, which would mean that he's somebody who is hitting like 260, 270 with an 850 OPS. Then he's a middle of the order guy. Crap. I'll go out and buy a Vargas jersey and wear it every day on the show if he does that. That'd be amazing.
Absolutely.
That music means the Sox nerd, Dave Marin, is on the line as he is each and every week here on Sox in the Basement. The nerd gives us all of his trivia nuggets and tidbits and so much more than he even puts up on the scoreboard at the rate sometimes he tries out his material right here on this show, and he's brought to you by the Village of Lamont. Want to experience a downtown with real history, great eats and drinks, and green spaces filled with adventure? Visit the Village of Lamont. Shop, dine, drink, explore, see the Lamont Unlocked podcast, and so much more at lamontdowntown.com. Nerd, what do you got for me?
Chris, let's start this week's White Sox Nugget session behind the plate, shall we? Drew Romo made history even before he went on a switch-hitting home run spree. When the 24-year-old Californian made his Sox debut, he became just the 15th switch-hitting catcher in club history. When he replaced Edgar Caro in the second game of the Angels set, it marked the first time in the 126-year history of the franchise that 2 switch hitters caught in a game for the White Sox. The closest this came to happening before was on April 21st, 1946, when Ed Fernandez caught and George Dickey, the brother of the Yankees Hall of Famer, pinch hit. In his second start of the season, Romo landed himself in the Sox record book when he became just the 9th player and the first White Sox catcher to homer from both sides of the plate in a game. In addition, Romo was the first Sox player to homer from both sides of the plate for his first 2 homers since Brian Simmons accomplished it in Kansas City on September 26, 1996. It had been 6 seasons since a Sox player last switch-hit dingers in a game, and that player was Larry Garcia. Other Sox on this list are Ken Henderson, Tim Raines, Jose Valentin, Nick Swisher, Melky Cabrera, and Yoan Moncada, who witnessed Romo's outburst from the Angels side of the field. Valentin with 3 and Swisher with 2 are the only Sox players to homer from both sides of the plate more than once. The series against the Angels got off to an interesting start. The Monday game was delayed by rain for 3 hours, with the first pitch coming at 9:40 p.m. What did I do during the protracted delay? A lot of digging, and one of the most fascinating things I found was that at that very moment in time, Chase Meidroth was the White Sox all-time leader with a .522 average in the 7th spot in the order. That was a nugget I happily displayed on the scoreboard that night. The game ended joyfully at 12:34 a.m. This was the latest start and finish of a Sox game I could remember since July 17, 2003. On that Thursday night, the first contest after U.S. Cellular Field had hosted the All-Star Game, a 3-hour and 3-minute delay had the Sox and Tigers starting at 10:11 p.m. When Paul Konerko was retired to end the 10-9 setback, the old clock on the wall read 1:04 a.m. In those wee small hours of the morning, I discovered the Linden L train didn't run 24 hours anymore, but that's a story for a different day. And one more, reliever Tyler Davis is a cool story. The righty was signed by the Sox as an undrafted free agent in June of 2024 after a stint with the Oakland Ballers of the Independent Pioneer League. He ended 2024 at High A and reached Double A last season. He got the call from Charlotte on April 25th and got into the game that night. He whiffed the first big league batter he faced on 3 pitches. The last Sox pitcher to do that was Carson Fulmer against the great Albert Pujols on July 17, 2016 in Anaheim. Before I get to my stumper answer and zinger, let me remind you that gems like these and others are available on my blog, which you can access at soxinthebasement.com. I'm also posting daily on X and Threads. Mike Squires is the answer to my Sox stumper. The first baseman won the Sox lone Gold Glove of the 1980s in 1981. My zinger? In becoming the first position player from Wisconsin to bat for the White Sox in nearly 53 seasons on Wednesday, Waukesha's Jared Kelnick became the 41st player to wear a White Sox uniform in 2026. The club record of 63 set in 2024 is definitely a possibility. That's it, Chris. Probably more than you wanted to know about switch hitting catchers, rain, and 3-pitch whiffs.
Sox in the basement. Sox in the basement. Sox in the basement.
Sox in the Basement. Heard everywhere podcasts can be found and always on soxinthebasement.com.